Hey y'all, my name's Drit Travastov. I'm glad you're here. Gotta be honest, I'm surprised you're here, but I'm glad. Jumping right into it. This is our research, AnEmbel, embellishing anime to add spatiotemporal detail. We provide both a dataset and a model. Now, what does this mean, right? What are we trying to do? So, anime takes a lot of work, right? Every single frame requires huge amount of details, right? Animators will literally go frame by frame, draw them over and over and over again, right? And there's technologies to make this easier, but it's still a very difficult process. Now, the closest version to what we have or what we want to do is ToonCrafter, right? So ToonCrafter takes an input frame, right? A starting frame, and it takes an ending frame, and it generates a video. Now that is fantastic, right? But we want to add detail to the video as it's being generated, right? So you guys might not be able to see it, but in the background, right, there's a bunch of bushes behind this little girl. An animator will have to go painstakingly and redraw that same bush for every single frame of the video. That's painstaking. It's tough. It takes hours. And if an animator doesn't have to do that painstaking work and can focus more on maybe writing the story or on more scenes, a beautiful match cut, that's time well saved, right? That's a perfect use of AI, especially generative AI. So that's what we want to do, right? We want to generate a video, and we also want to add detail to that video, so an animator doesn't have to spend their time doing so. So, like I said, right, the limitations of ToonCrafter is that it only temporally interpolates, right? It only interpolates with time. It doesn't add the detail that we want it to. And their data set is private. So we knew we needed to build a spatiotemporal data set. Now, our first approach is to take publicly available videos and animeify them. So here we got just a public square. Here we got just an outdoor staircase. Animeify it with AnimGAN. So initially, a lot of the AnimGAN versions we used were not performing well, and towards the end of the project, we actually found a version that did perform well, but we had to keep pushing on, right? You gotta keep moving forward. But when we did find that, we found that it got promising results. We could upsample it using APISR, which is a high resolution model, right? It takes a video or takes an image, cranks up the resolution. And in this case, it added a bunch of dark lines to really give that anime look. So while this wasn't working, we shifted to actual anime, right? So we got full anime movies. We diced them up using Scene Detect, which essentially gets nice clips of videos, right? So all of our videos ended up being about half a second. We had to further prune it, right? So we didn't want text in our clips because text is usually typed up, right? It's not usually written by an actual animator. So we want to focus on the artistic aspect, right? Making the artist's life easier. So we don't want text. So we use Craft, which detects text, right? In this case, you might not be able to see it, but there's a lot of text. It's like the opening credits. So we pruned that out, right? We then use Raft for optical flow. So optical flow is the amount of movement, right? So a lot of movement is something like that, right? That's high optical flow. Low movement is if I just stand here in one place. That's low optical flow. So we want to not have a huge amount, not too little of amount, right? We don't want static in the low optical flow. We don't want us like going to a different scene in total. So that's how we maintain optical flow in it. We also caption each video with blip 2. So with the text caption, for example, this one will be captioned man sword charging. This one will be captioned elf raising her staff. And from there, our final step is annotating each video with a clip embedding, right? So what we want to do there is we essentially want to maintain text to video alignment. So the beginning, the middle, and the end frames all have a clip embedding. So simply put, it'll be something like the embedding will roughly translate to something like man sword charging, man sword charging, man sword charging. As long as all three of those are good, you've got good text and video alignment. So once we've done that, right, we've clipped down, got the perfect data set, perfect clips, we will downsample, right? The purpose of downsampling is to remove detail. And then we upsample again so that we're back at the original resolution of our video, right? And this upsampling is done with API-SAR again, which is the high resolutionifying model. So this gives us back to the original resolution, but a lot of the detail, almost all the detail is gone, right? So for example, this guy, right? Between these two frames, right? Here, he doesn't have a mouth, right? He doesn't have a mouth, his eyes are just little dots. His nose is a triangle. And the original, right, the ground truth, the one the actual animator drew, he's got some beautiful brown eyes. He's got a nice smile on his face. He's got eyebrows again. So this is a low detail video, high detail video, right? We also add that caption, the text caption as a guardrail. So for example, like we said earlier, this one's man sword charging, this one's elf raising her staff, right? So when we feed this data into the model's like, what am I doing? Now it knows, okay, so I'm generating a video of a man sword charging, and I'm also implicitly adding detail to that same video. So now with our data set, right, we can start our initial model training. So we knew we wanted to build right off Toon-Crafter, right? Toon-Crafter temporally interpolated. Let's iterate on that and just get spatial detail on top of that, right? Thus, spatiotemporal detail. So this model produced pretty noisy results initially. We've isolated it down to our denoising generative unit. So Toon-Crafter uses diffusion models. For those of y'all who aren't familiar with it, essentially diffusion models, they add static, add detail or noise to a video or an image, right? And then there's a model part of it, like a functionality of it, is that it learns how to remove that noise. So the model really, really understands what makes that picture that picture. So the denoising generative model in AnEmbel is what we've isolated to be our point of improvement. So future steps is replacing that unit with a different model. And in conclusion, we have built a novel data set and a preliminary model for anime embellishment and making an artist's life easier.